So thank you so much for inviting me to spend this afternoon with you. It's a real honour and pleasure. What I thought I'd do is just talk a little bit to you about what I do in my role, some of the groups we're doing. It'll be a little bit of a snapshot for you. Looking round, I can see lots of you are actually already bobbing in and out of some of our groups, so you've got an idea of some of the things we do, but you won't necessarily have seen everything. So I've gathered together some photographs that show some of the groups in action. I'll talk around some of those as well. Jane did just put up some things that I do. I think I can remember them. So one of the big parts of my role is the baby and toddler groups, and they are a real opportunity just for welcoming in some of the younger families and a really good first contact. So I'll tell you a little bit about what happens at baby and toddler group. There's our messy church, which is always lots of fun. I'll tell you a little bit about messy church. I'll just mention a little bit about Sunday mornings, some of our special events, and then the baptisms. So those are just some of what I do. Behind the scenes, there's a lot of preparation, planning, team building, prayer, making contact with families, sometimes meeting with parents, having walks in the woods, that sort of thing during the lockdown. So there's a lot of other things happen as well. So on to the baby and toddler groups, but I'll show you a little bit about that. So our first pictures which are coming up are taken in the lockdown when we couldn't run the groups, but we were able to run a new parent support group. That was in the autumn last year. And as you can see, we're masked. Everybody had 2 metres, a metre to 2 metres between them. It had to be babies that were non-mobile or pre-mobile. But it just gave an opportunity for those mums who'd had babies during the lockdown to see other parents. Some of them didn't have family close by, so it's been a really difficult time for all of them in different ways. And of course, some of the, as the babies arrived, they were in hospital alone. Some had been able to have partners with them for a short time, so it had been really difficult. So that was so appreciated. It was a little bit odd, couldn't serve them drinks. You know, one of the big things about our toddler groups is the welcome and the hospitality, and I couldn't offer that. So it really was bring your own. It was bring your own baby mat, bring your own drink, bring your own snack. But we were there, and they made friends and were able to meet the parents. And when I was looking earlier at the people there, a couple of them have brought their babies to baptism since, or are on the baptism list. We've got the twins in one of those photos. At the back on the left one, they've been baptised already, and they come along to one of our toddler groups. So, you know, we're seeing them. A lot of these we are still in contact with, and they're now coming to our toddler group. So that was really it was odd, but really worth doing. So when we could go back to toddler groups, so it's all been a little bit different how it was pre-COVID. The first sessions where we met in summer were all outside, and that was great fun to really see that amazing space that we've got outside. And at that point, people just really appreciated getting back somewhere, seeing each other. Some of them it was seeing other parents, grandparents and children that they hadn't seen for, well, over a year by that point. There were new babies had arrived, and yeah, it was just really nice. And what I made the decision to do as we went back into doing our baby and toddler groups was to make it even more distinctly Christian. So although much of our focus has always been the welcome, the hospitality, I wanted to make sure that we were also mindful of including a story or a theme, and so they just a little snippet of something. So when we were outside, we had trails and songs that just brought in some Christian themes. Then we had a weather really was a little bit iffy outside, and then we've made the decision to bring toddler group into the church. And obviously, those of you in here, and there are people watching perhaps online, we do have the remnants of Tuesday's group hidden behind there, and that will all come out tomorrow. So I've just taken a snap of the setup before everybody arrives, and we're just really loving it. As a team, we're loving it. The parents are loving it. I think the difference between here and the hall is quite cosy. We've got the carpets. It's a beautiful building, and people are appreciating that. And it's also, we're giving them an opportunity to step into the church and be familiar with the church building. So it felt the right thing to do. It was partly to give more space, just because of COVID and allowing more space, but it's so much more than that. And I did want to share with you, one little boy left one day after the group to go home with his mum, and he said to me, "I really like your house." We were at the bottom of the steps and he just looked up. And I thought, that's really nice. And it gives a nice atmosphere. It's calmer because of the carpet, I think, the presence of God. So we're really enjoying being in here and feel really blessed by our building. So what happens in our toddler groups? So those pictures just show some of the toys. I don't know if you can see on the rocket, but we've got, I think it's they've got a cow and a sheep and baby Jesus. So often our play, we have play, lots of things out there, just love to play, but we do have some themed play. So I've built in a theme, there'll be a story, and elements of the play time will reflect that. So during the build up to Christmas and telling bits of the Christmas story, we had nativity figures out, lots of baby play. Yesterday I was doing the kings, so we had the king figures around. Some of them were in dumper trucks, some with the trays. It was, can you go and find where the kings are and how are they travelling? And then that all led into a craft, about the star, making the star, and then the story. So yeah, lots of play, but with some links. And then lots of craft. There's always a craft. So we've got some of our craft tables, and they link, as I've said, with the story. So we've got some trees happening there, and that was God made the trees and the flowers. We've got a sheep happening there, which went on our Christmas tree, and were linked with the sheep in the Bible, in the nativity story. So there's always a little bit of a link, a little bit of an opportunity to maybe talk about stories to the older ones, drop things in for the parents, and then as we gather after the craft time and the play time, that's a really important time together where we're in a circle. I do a really short story, and puppets and the knitted nativity figures were amazing as we did the thank you Lois again, as we did the Christmas story, just to have something really kind of physical. And yeah, we do that. And then I send the parents home now with a little thought, kind of a here's a thought. So something for them that has a link to give them something to think about, linked to it with the gospel, with our story. So yeah, when we come to sort of things later on, there are lots of things to pray about, like these seeds that they grow. So that's a little snapshot of the toddler groups. Messy Church. So we'll just go through a few photos. So Messy Church is church. Lots of activity, lots of games, but everything linked to a Bible story. So our first few slides are all linked with the Good Samaritan, and things like, this is just an example of what we might do. This is an outside one, but things like using Lego bricks to build scenarios. So in that photo, we have got the injured man lying down, we have got somebody on a donkey or horse outside, I presume that's the inn. So really engaging with the story. We'd always a prayer activity. So that man with the plasters was a prayer activity. Each plaster represented somebody that people there, children, grown-ups, adults, everybody was there, somebody people wanted to pray for. So they didn't even have to write or think of the words, but it was stick a plaster on. And it made me laugh because somebody's drawn a foot. I didn't put any kind of feet and put a plaster on the foot, so I would presume there was somebody with a bad foot. And that particular one, we had great fun with bandages. So I even got a bandage on my arm by Ava with a bandage on her leg. And even babies got bandaged. So not just the baby dolls, but real babies. I did notice that Rudy got both his legs bandaged again. Yeah, and each of our activities has a question to be thought about. So it encourages the grown-ups that are going around with the children to ask that question, chat about it, think about it, and just to help people engage more with their story. So really, it's not just activities when we do Messy Church. It's really about engaging with the gospel, with Bible stories, and then we go on to have a talk that links with it. We've also done an outside Messy Church. I think that's the one that's coming next. Yeah, we called it Messy Church Goes Wild. We're out in the garden, built a bug hotel, so that was sort of linking in with the caring for God's world. And yeah, so I just popped there as a prompt. It's not just the activities, and we pray. We have some real meaningful prayer activities as well. And we did a lovely one outside with leaves, and just asking people to kind of feel the leaves, break them to symbolise things we've done wrong, hold them to symbolise God holding things. There's lots of symbolism, so there's a lot of practical things that children can get something from, and also helps the adults who, in many cases, are new to faith or just starting on their faith journey. We're through the next few Messy Church ones. Oh, but that's quite an important one. I've just realised what that is. So that was our Messy Harvest. Yes! Some of you might recognise yourselves. I feel that one was just really important because we brought it into a Sunday morning and we've got families coming who we don't usually see on a Sunday morning, who are around on a Friday afternoon. One or two as well who actually can't make that Friday afternoon but could make Sunday morning, but were pulled in by the type of service it was. But I'll put pictures of some of our lovely, more mature members of St Mark's, because I think that is just so important. As we think about these new families, it's the nurturing them, and I know that's what Mothers Union is a big part of what you're about. Family and nurturing, and so we all have a really important part to play, and that was just so lovely having all ages alongside each other. And I know I would love to see, and I think lots of us would love to see more of that. So I think that's Messy Church. What I was going to do, just a quick reminder of kind of where we were and what we were doing during lockdown when things couldn't meet. We had quite a few trails, and again that was brilliant because in fact a lot of you were involved in that, as you had, I feel like I recognise that window, and somebody might recognise it who's here with the kings in it. And so some of you hosted activities from the nativity story, and families had bags and went round and interacted with the Christmas stories, as well as finding characters. They had lots of activities to do to help them interact with the Christmas story. We even had a dressed up little group that went round, and then we've got the Easter trail. So we did a trail last Easter. But what a difference as we got to Christmas this year. And got some pictures there from Christingle, and one or two of you were there. But we did Christingle in quite a different way this year, all round tables, lots of families, lots of people of all ages, and we made our Christingles. So it's completely interactive from start to finish. So we still had our worship, our prayers, our hymns, but everybody had a chance to make their own Christingle and really think about the meaning. So there's just a lot really that we do within the groups, just enabling families to start to explore different stories from the Bible and the Gospel. And it's really exciting. We've got a lot of families that are involved with different groups and in different ways. We did the Posada, which was our travelling nativity, and I know that visited Mothers Union Advent service, so it didn't just go to families, as you know, and it went to all sorts of different groups. Did get the opportunity for me to go and visit the Scout Hut and take it to the Beavers and to be able to talk about, well, I was asked to talk about the real meaning of Christmas, which was a real privilege to be able to do with them. And then I did visit all the other groups. I was also going to take it to nursery. That unfortunately got cancelled, but that's still in the diary for me to go and have a visit to the nursery, or for them to come and visit us here. So that's a lovely connection to have. So the final thing I just thought I'd share with you is about baptisms. And yeah, those are our baptism ducks. If you've never seen a close-up, every child gets a little, a little bath duck with love from St. Mark's. My role in the baptisms is I do baptism visits, so it's about the initial connection with the families. So sometimes this is families that I already know because they're already coming to groups, they're already coming to baby and toddler group. And sometimes this is the first meeting, this is the first connection for them with church, so that's really important. And then in the service, my role is about just the welcoming. So it's very much the relationship with the families. But often, when I look at the who's come for baptism, I do see that we keep that connection in many cases. That they do, if they weren't coming to toddler group, they do start coming, and we do see them at other things, or when the children get a little bit older, maybe they start coming to Messy Church. And there's definitely within all the groups things that lead to other things. There's a lot of people that we do keep seeing. So that is wonderful. Baptisms, just at the moment, have been after the main service, which is a little bit of an odd thing in many ways. It's lovely to be able to do them, but one of the really important things about baptism is that the church family is welcoming them. And that, I think, brings me really to my last little bit, which was about how you might be able to help. I'll do the baptism bit first because I was just talking about that. But there's that part in the service where the church is asked to promise to support the parents and the godparents in bringing up their child in faith. And if there aren't enough of us from church there, we remain already that little bit not quite right. And so that is one of the things that I did put when I just had a little quick think about it, was one of the things that you might feel is something that you could help with, that you could say, well actually, on one of the baptisms, I can stay, or I can maybe miss the service before and come just for that, but I can be there representing St. Mark's and be part of the St. Mark's family that welcomes the child and welcomes the family and makes those promises on behalf of the church. That would be brilliant. And then as we do start having them back in main services, to just remember that's actually really important, that we are there to support them. But other things that you can, you might want to get involved in, you might think of other things, you might want to say, I wonder if it would help if. Baby and toddler groups, we've got some helpers, we've got people who will help with the hard, heavy lifting, but there's still need for things things like, well actually the most important one is the people who will be there to kind of be friends or be in that grandparent role for the parents, for the children, to get to know them so that we're giving that welcome. It doesn't have to be, in a lot of the groups, it doesn't have to be about lugging things around but there are opportunities like that. There is helping with the craft is always useful, but actually just being that person to talk to. Same with Messy Church, just having more people there that just come along and get to know them and chat and just interact with them when they're doing the activities. I've mentioned supporting the baptism services. And then, I know you're all brilliant at this already, but actually just as a church, just giving our lovely, warm St. Mark's welcome to everybody who comes, particularly the families, making sure we have a chat with them, getting to know them, starting to get the children's names, so that they feel that they are part of the family, of the church family. And then of course praying is so valuable. And what I have done is a little sheet that's just got a few prompts, and I hope you don't mind doing this, a few prompts of things that you might want help with. Prayer is a massive one, and a few prompts for prayer. If you could support this ministry, support me in prayer, that would just be amazing. Thank you. Is there any questions?
I didn't realise that we could be part of the baptism service. I thought we've got to be separate.
I think when we first started doing them again, because there was the numbers issue, that was the case. So I think so now, as we're looking towards doing some after the service ones that will help us catch up a little bit, if you like, what would be lovely is just a few people from church to come along, so that there are some faces from church there. So it's shifted. So so we have. It's not as if we've kind of been really thinking, why isn't anybody coming? Because I know we've not asked that, but that would be a lovely thing here on in.
Perhaps that could be said in church.
Yeah.
Because I had no idea that we could stay.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good idea. Thank you, Pam. Anything else?
I think all of us here have had experience of dealing with children. Can you hear me? All of us here have had experience of dealing with children one way or another, and we all appreciate how much it must take out of you, all the thinking about it, the planning, the preparation, all the work you have to do. How do you relax? Can you let go of it, or are you supported, or do you find that you're thinking about it all the time? I'm exhausted just watching all the things that you've been doing on here. You know about it, but you feel quite worn out after listening to it all. So does anybody support you, or do you get a chance to have relaxing time, or relaxation, or whatever?
Oh, bless you. I do. I mean, I love walking, and we just live in such a beautiful place to be able to do that. So in terms of my relaxation and kind of coming down a bit, I do walk a lot. I walk and pray quite a lot. And then so there's people on the team and ministry team who I can just sort of, because sometimes for me, it can be the indecision that's the exhausting thing. Sometimes, especially in COVID, how can we do this? What can we do? But yeah, I know that there are people who care, and I can use a sounding boards. Yeah.
Thank you. You don't have to burn yourself out,
no,
do you?
I won't.
It's all this wonderful work.
Thank you.
I know once or twice during the lockdown, I was probably going towards resource. I was at the village anyway in the car, and it would be a cold, nasty day, you were feeling fed up and miserable, and then all of a sudden one day I saw you at the bottom of, coming down the hill there, with all these children, you know, and I thought, oh look, they're all out, and they were all enjoying themselves, and I thought, what a wonderful job you're doing. You were out in this cold weather, but you were like a Peter, you know, Peter Pan person with all the children, and like, obviously enjoying the cold weather, and well, the kids were, you know, and enjoying what you were showing them on your walk round. And I did think, well, you know, that was a good job you were doing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Are you finding, Nicky, that some of the parents are either rekindling with faith or starting the journey of faith?
Yes. So, and I know there's research that says this is something that happens particularly through toddler groups, that parents do start to think about faith things again. In small ways, yes, we definitely get parents who start to think, yeah, quite like to come to church. We get those sorts of conversations, and we get people who just seem quite open. There's a handful that will say to me, oh, I love getting your thoughts, the ones at the end of toddler group, because I never quite know what happens to those. And I suspect quite a few might go straight into recycling, but I know there are some that are interested. It's when they move on to messy church, then I know they're moving on. And we have had more families coming during sort of started to come while I was doing groups on a Sunday morning outside, and have come on Sundays sometimes. And these were all people that weren't coming to messy church or groups before the pandemic. So I'm seeing people take a step. It's really hard to know exactly what's going on, but I feel there are people who are open.
You feel encouraged.
And encouraged, yes. Yes.
Nicky, some time ago, in toddler group, there was a little paper that went round for the mums to write if they wanted anything for prayer. And I just wondered if that was something that you'd thought about resurrecting, or perhaps you're not at that stage yet with them, but I just think it's lovely if they could just write it down and hand it you, if they didn't know them, want to say it themselves.
Yeah, it is having a prayer box or something is definitely something I've thought about. We started at Messy Church and found a few people put things in, but not very often. But it's something I want to resurrect or do in the toddler groups. And actually, just before I came out, what would be really good was to be able to say there are a group of people who will pray for you. And I was just thinking, actually, what a lovely group this would be. If I said, our Mothers Union and team, if you've put prayers in a box, would love to pray for you. It is a really good idea, and that is another step for people. And it often comes around to think, where would we put it? And I think now we're in the church building, somehow that feels a little bit easier to find a little nook somewhere where they can know that is, dresser window and a prayer box and things.
We could do it for ourselves as well, actually, as a congregation.
Yes.
We could do with a prayer
Yeah.
sort of station, where you could ask people to pray for things.
Yeah. So I think as people would respond to that. Yeah. We do get opportunities just chatting to people to be able to say, well, I'll pray for you. I had one yesterday. No, I'll pray for your dad. When they've shared things, and I've never had anybody say, oh no, don't want that.
No.
People are open.
How's the situation with the school? Because at one time you had links and then it was very difficult. Is that still a work in progress?
Yes. School is still a work in progress, and it is a shame that that's something that COVID has, what we were able to do, we haven't been able to do. We've had 2 Christmases now where they couldn't come for their carol service, and that was becoming a regular thing, and the year twos were coming up each summer to do some work in just look at the church building, and we haven't been able to do that. So really hoping that we can get back to that point, and then develop it. Yeah. So we've got lovely relationships with the nursery, apple tree, and yeah, so it'd be nice to build that onto the school as well. So yeah, work in progress.
Has anybody got any more questions? Nicky? Because if not, I'd just like to say on behalf of all of us, a really, really big thank you to you, Nicky. It's been lovely this afternoon, especially to see all the slides that you brought, to see how you're progressing from just them coming in to a toddler group and then gradually adding in little bits of Christine's stories, planning a toy. It's just wonderful to see, and we really do appreciate all that you do. I'm sure we all agree with that. You do a wonderful job, and we're all so proud of you. And you've got a very good reputation in the village, because I hear people talking how wonderful it is at toddler group. So can we just give you